I'm Lorena Morales here. I welcome you to my session. For that, I'm going to share my screen so we can jump into it right away. I'm going to try to do this as effectively as possible so you can take a couple of things with you to apply directly to your companies. So let me share my screen, and here we are. So yeah, I'm not going to go full screen mode because my computer is acting weird, so apologies for that. But I hope that you can read everything that is in these slides. So the session today is about how to drive growth through revenue operations excellence and ABM strategies. Why am I going to talk about this? Because, and this is a little bit of who I am. In my past life, I became an ABM practitioner, and I fell in love with the methodology. And so this is when I was working for a consultancy that was doing revenue operations as a service. So I kind of got the opportunity to see the synergy between both ways of thinking, because at the end, that's what they are. I've talked about this in a few events. Also, I talk a lot about revenue operations in podcasts, so you can kind of find me on Spotify or wherever you want. Apple Podcast, whatever is your preference. And so, yeah, so let's jump into it. RevOps and ABM, what exactly are we talking about? And probably you already heard about these definitions already, so this is only going to be like a refreshment. Hopefully most of you that jump into this session already have a clue of what is revenue operations and ABM. With that said, revenue operations, it's a methodology that becomes a function that thinks and sees the business holistically to align the revenue facing or the revenue or the customer facing teams, marketing, sales, and customer success. And what is this? And why is this? I think the main North Star for revenue operations is to really make the customer journey a smoother experience. Because at the end, when you think about it, your customer doesn't care if there's 5 people behind the deal. They only want to feel one experience. And in order to do that, you have to have the 3 revenue creating teams very, very close together. So that's revenue operations on their side. Now, ABM. ABM, it's well known for being a GTM strategy. I feel a little weird about calling it ABM because when you talk about account-based marketing, you're implying that marketing is calls on all the accountability for this methodology, when in reality, it should be the revenue teams. And so that's why I like to call it account-based revenue, even though I put here account-based marketing, because that's how you're going to find it in most of the places. Just know that my definition is more like account-based revenue or account-based everything. And the main thing about this is like, instead of going through a wide net to kind of go after your accounts, you are being very, very specific about which ones are your tiers and how you're going to go and pursue those accounts. Generally, these are like 6 figures contracts. That's when you justify the usage of ABM. However, some other companies utilize it more broadly on a one-to-many or one-to-few approach when they have lower ACPs. But generally, we're talking about 6 figures when it justifies the amount of work that this takes. I'm going to bring you statistics because I'm all about numbers and I love it. And so here's the first one. Companies using ABM generate 208% more revenue from their marketing efforts. ITMA call it marketing efforts, but I think, again, it's the revenue department's efforts. So let's move to the power of revenue ops. I think the key role of revenue operations is, as I said, to break silos, to kind of really enlarge collaboration between teams and enhance that collaboration. Another stat, businesses with well-defined revenue operations processes have 71% increase in customer retention. The source is Lean Data. Retention, very, very important metric. We all know that it's easier to retain a customer, or probably not easier, but like probably better to retain a customer than to have a net new one. Why is that? Because you already understand your customer, because you already have the data that points that they are ready to either upsell, cross-sell, or probably renew. And so that's the thing with revenue operations. You can focus on other metrics like churn rate. The benefits. It increases revenue, of course, because as I said, you're measuring the entire funnel. It improves customer satisfaction. As I said, the main belief is that you need to make a smooth customer experience, and it streamlines operations. Why? Because it not only touches your GTM, but it also touches your operations teams. And it makes sure to kind of go all together to the same North Star that should be revenue. Now, on the ABM side, I think the targeting, as we said, like one of the impact is that they are going to go after specific accounts instead of everything to everyone. I think the approach where you like put peanut butter all over the place and see what sticks is gone. I think now we're starting to invest more and more in resources to go after the tangible addressable market that generally are the accounts that could potentially buy your services or products. A stat, 92% of B2B marketers consider ABM extremely or very important to their marketing efforts. This is according to demand base. And the benefits of account base is higher conversion rates, increased deal sizes, and enhanced customer relationships. Because since the targeting is so personalized, this is only obvious, right? Like this is an aha moment when you put effort on knowing the people who are behind your accounts. I've always said this, like it's not the B2B or B2C era, it's the age to age, the human to human era. Because at the end, you're selling to a human. And so the more that you understand the people behind the accounts, the more chances that you have to bring revenue to the company. So, okay, the integration. I think the synergy, sorry for that. The synergy is combining these two methodologies and leverage what comes out of it. What I mean by this. The amount of data that is going to come from understanding your operations teams and your GTM teams is super valuable. With that, you're going to be able to know the intent of the accounts that you are going after, mapping the account to see who you already have in your database or your CRM or whatever you have. And then on existing customers, what are the products that they already bought? And you have to utilize this data effectively and in a very smart way. Of course, for this, implying that your CRM is clean, or at least decently clean, in order to do these things. It's that companies with integrated ABM and revenue operations experience a 36% increase in customer retention. Marketo. I think retention, as I said in the previous slide, or NRR, net revenue retention, net retention revenue, it's one of the metrics that has evolved from understanding ARR or MRR. We still measure those, but I think retention is one of those things that it's fairly new to companies. We're starting to understand what is the value of existing customers. And I think especially after the pandemic, that was especially true. And it didn't go away. I think all companies that realized that their customers could stick to them and become allies, they invested more in those accounts. Therefore, through ABM and revenue operations, you have a beautiful synergy. Measuring success. A lot of people ask me, like, Lorena, how do you know if revenue operations is working? How do you know if ABM is working? And I don't think there's a one thing applies to all, but there are metrics that overall I've seen that businesses utilize to measure both. And so if you kind of combine those, you're gonna have a really good temperature on both programs. The first one is revenue growth. Of course, if the company is growing, it means that sorry for that. Sorry for that. Yeah, so revenue growth means that the company is in a healthy status. This is why this is so unnatural. Your LTV, or your customer lifetime value. I think understanding how long your customer is going to stay with you and the payback time of that customer is becoming more and more important in organizations. And it's not a coincidence. You need to understand, if you put $1, when am I going to receive that dollar, and how can I increment that dollar to $2? Account engagement. The more touches that you have, effective touches, the more stretch is going to be your relationship with those accounts. Therefore, your engagement is going to rise up. And pipeline velocity. This is super important. And I would add another one, which could be probably value. So increase on your ACVs. Because the whole idea is that your accounts are going to experience sales cycles that are going to change. Some of them you're going to see that they are going to enlarge. However, they could convert faster than what you've seen before. Or if it's a higher ACV, probably, as I said, it would take longer, but the close rate could be higher. The statistic here: organizations that align the revenue operations and ABM have a 15% increase in the deal size. So I think the point is to, like, saying it in another way, like, how can we squeeze the most juice out of our accounts? Like, if they're already buying a service and they are happy with it, or a product, how can we make sure to offer them more of the same? How can we make sure that they are not only happy with what they have, but that they want more? And so this is something that happened in my previous company, where we realized that we could increase the amount of services that they were buying, simply because if you understand all the spectrum of pain points of a customer, most likely you're going to see that they are not utilizing full potential of your product or services. So that would be my advice. Try to combine both. I think the alignment that comes from revenue operations is automatically applicable to the ABM efforts. And I'm going to show you a framework of how I see this performing. So I did a little framework that I would like you to take. You can take a screenshot or whatever you want, or I believe we're going to send the slides. But I put the steps that you could take, the description of where are those, and the key activities from both methodologies. So number one, assessment. You need to evaluate what is the current state of the business. Identify the accounts that you're going to go after, and do a data and technology audit to really see how the systems are playing into your strategy. Because if you see that, for example, your map is not integrated with your CRM, that's going to be a problem. Or if your account intelligence is kind of disconnected from your CRM, another problem. So you kind of really need to see what you have in place and what can you leverage the most, because we also tend to have 3 different tools for the same exact thing. And I think doing the exercise of exactly where you're going to need, it's something that every company should do, regardless if you're doing ABM or not. And the key activities is assess the existing revenue operations processes and ABM strategies, define high value accounts and key decision makers, who is going to play into who, ensure data quality and integration across systems. It's exactly what I was talking about. Then on the alignment, the cross-functional team formation, you need to bring as many people as you can. I've seen people bringing even finance. Interesting play. I'm not saying that that's what you should do every single time. But for example, your product teams, even your engineering teams, they also have a really valuable knowledge that you should try to leverage into all this. The key activity on that one is create a revenue operations ABM task force with representatives from marketing, sales, and customer success. Again, if you can add more people, do it. It's always a really good practice. Create shared KPIs. Develop common key performance indicators for both revenue ops and ABM teams. In these, you can utilize the metrics that I showed before. so you really have an idea of where you want to go. Data integration, that's the third step. You need to have unified data and scoring, data access and scoring model in place. I've seen the scoring of the accounts done differently and in different platforms. I don't want to call a name because I know the tool stack is very particular in each one of the companies, but it's really important to see how you are giving points to the accounts and how they are hitting those thresholds. Is it just technographic information? Is it a mix between technographic and demographic and psychographics? A lot of companies don't use psychographics because those are the hard ones to get. Those generally come from sales. More than happy to talk about the scoring in another session, because I think it's one of those things that you need to do right from the very beginning. Otherwise, your program is going to be very, very complicated and difficult to scale. The fourth, account selection. Once you have identified the accounts, you need to segment them. You need to use the data and insights from to identify the high value accounts. The persona development, create buyer personas for each target account. Of course, that's a given. Then we move to reporting and metrics. You have to monitor every single KPI that you have and see which one of your tactics or programs are bringing ROI and how the two programs are bringing ROI in general. So as an activity, I put showcase the impact of the revenue operations ABM integration on revenue growth, a specific metric that you're going to show if your program is working or if it's not working. Scalability. Here's where customer success is super important. On my personal opinion, I think scalability is when you're going to go, if you were targeting 50 accounts, this is when you're going to go to the 300, 400, 500. And you need to ensure a smooth handoff of the customer success team for post-sale account management. So you need to start understanding what's the potential of the efforts for upsell, cross-sell, renewals, etc. And there's no one better to give you that information than customer success. Then scaling up successful models. What is working? Double down on it. What's not working? Cut it. You have to identify successful approaches and replicate them for more accounts. This one is tricky because what worked in one account not necessarily is going to work on another one, because again, every human is a mind, a different mind. But I do believe that if you start testing similar approaches and see what is working, I think you can get to a really good understanding of the overall business. Review and refine. You have to have a periodic evaluation of all the things that I mentioned before across the business, with periodic assessments to ensure alignment and effectiveness. And then lastly, innovate and experiment. I would encourage your teams to experiment with everything that you can touch, that it's new and that could enhance creativity. We have this idea that creative people are only designers or artists or you name it. But I think when you get to interact with another human in a business motion, I think there's a lot of creativity to utilize there, and we just need to be brave in order to bring that on and make sure that we're not afraid to test new things or break things here and there. With that said, I hope that you have enjoyed my short presentation. Where you can find me is always on LinkedIn. I'm very open in my LinkedIn profile. If you want to connect, if you want to chat more about this, I know I kind of gave you the general and the really broad vision of this, but if you want to go deeper, I'm more than happy to have a one-on-one. So go and find me /in/Morales Lorena. Thank you. Ciao, ciao.